This is the Mariners POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Seattle Mariners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The Mariners win against the Chicago White Sox. Don't know if it's saying that much, as they're one of the worst teams in baseball. We witnessed that today. Luis Castillo, I'm pretty sure, is still throwing fastballs as we speak. And the Mariners win their fourth in a row and 5 out of the last 6. They just get the job done. It's what you need to do in these road series. Anderson Hurst here with Christopher Crawford. We're your hosts of the Mariners POSTCAST here on the Locked On Sports Network. We're live on the Locked On Mariners YouTube page. Here on the POSTCAST show, we'll go live and break down the Mariners game that you guys just watched. After every single final pitch, we'll be with you after every single game. And be sure to catch Ty and Colby right after our show. Not right after, I should say. During the day. Thank you, Nunya. What did you do to Ty and Colby? They're still here. They're still here. Don't worry. They still have their Locked On Mariners show. That's just during the day. It's Christopher Crawford and myself, Anderson Hurst, hosting the POSTCAST show. We got a kind of a dual thing going on, so be sure to tune into both of us. You'll get some fun out of everything. Today we'll go over Castillo throwing a bunch of fastballs. Ben Williamson, maybe you might hear about him later. And Julio Rodriguez gets a grand slam to open things up in the 8th inning, excuse me. So yeah, it was a bit, I don't want to say a big win for the Mariners, but job done. That's the first thing I'll say, Christopher Crawford.
This game was boring as heck for 7.5 innings. I mean, I was teetering on the edge of Napville, baby. And if I knew I didn't have to, for the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they pay us per game to do this, I would have taken a nap. I would have absolutely said, you know what, you can watch this one later, but my goodness gracious, it was just such a boring game. And you know what? One of the reasons it was so boring was how good Luis Castillo was, especially after the 3rd inning. It's interesting, and we can kind of just get into his start now. Like the first couple innings, I was pretty concerned. There were actually the first 3 innings, there were 5 balls hit over 100 miles per hour. And there were some balls that got to the warning track. There were some balls that were hit pretty hard. But after the 3rd inning, Luis Castillo shoved, and 14 straight, I believe he retired to end this start. Yep. That is just prototypical Luis Castillo. And yeah, it happened against a White Sox team that, if it wasn't for the Colorado Rockies, we would be calling easily the worst team in baseball. And they're pretty bad. I'm very much looking forward to their series against each other on 4th of July. What a present for America. It was an excellent effort from Luis Castillo, and then we can talk, of course, about Julio in a second. But seeing that was enough for me to take this very boring game and make it at least kind of memorable. Yeah,
I'm all with you on that. Big story for me is obviously Luis Castillo. His last 2 starts have been really good. And it should be noted, this is a terrible lineup. This is an awful lineup. So he should be shoving against this team for sure. But he did it. He did exactly that. I think I didn't realize this was the park where he threw 47 straight fastballs in 2 years ago. They mentioned that on the broadcast today. And he did something similar today. I want to say it was like 23 or 24 today, which is wild. But I mean, it makes sense. Castillo is a fastball heavy pitcher.
Sure.
The White Sox struggle more than any other team against the fastball. Yep. I think this is just a really good matchup for Luis Castillo. Glad that I have him on my fantasy team.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I think it's a big kind of moment for him to kind of get his confidence back. This plus the Yankees game, I think, gets him back into the swing of things. And it looks more like 23-22 Luis Castillo.
Yeah, the last 2 starts have been as Luis Castillo as we want Luis Castillo to be. Yeah. Now, he's not the same pitcher he was in 2023, where he was a borderline top 10 starter in baseball. Okay, he's a top 25 starter in baseball still, and he gets the job done more than ever, or not more than ever, but he gets the job done more often than not. And these last 2 starts against, quality of lineups very different, the Yankees and the White Sox, but the results are the same. The results are shutout baseball, and it's just really encouraging to see Luis Castillo pitch like this, especially on a day where I don't think he had his best command. Like, I don't think he was at his best. And I think that top of the fact that maybe they were going fastball heavy because of how much the White Sox struggle with it, I also think maybe he just didn't have command of his other secondary pitches today. Yeah. And so they said, let's just go with the fastball. That's going to work. And boy, did it ever work, especially those last 4 innings. It would be one of those tale of two halves. It's a weird thing to say because both of them are shutouts, you know, the first 3 innings against the next 4 innings. But like, if you had the ability to just watch the batter hit the baseball and had no idea what was happening after that, you would not guess Luis Castillo threw 3 shutout innings over those first 2. You would just say, oh boy, I sure hope the defense behind him was real good. But the last 4, that was shutout baseball. That was deserved shutout baseball. But goodness gracious, the White Sox are just atrocious too. Like, it's bad for baseball to have a lineup this bad and for it not to be the worst lineup in baseball.
That's insane that's the case as well, that it's not the worst team. I feel like, I mean, they showed on the stands multiple times, a lot of Mariners fans in those stands. Yeah. I want to say it was probably close to 50% Mariners fans at Rate Field, by the way. What a name for a stadium. My God, everything about that place just seems cursed. All right. I can't do it. But okay, so we got the Luis Castillo start out of the way. A little bit iffy on the bullpen stuff. I think Colin Snyder looked good. Troy Taylor, not so much. Had to bring in Andres Munoz, and probably an instance where you don't want to have to bring him in, but he hasn't pitched in, 3 days now?
Yeah.
Or 2 or 3 days. Anyways, he's had 2 days off is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. So this isn't the worst case scenario. And I think you mentioned this right before we went live. There's a chance that we might not play tomorrow given the forecast. So if you're going to have to use him, this is the game to do it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And, you know, it is technically a safe situation because the bases were loaded and the tying run came to the plate. And boy, oh boy, does Dan Wilson love managing to a baseball card, baby. If it's a safe situation, Julio Rodriguez is going to enter that game. And you know what? Good for Andres Munoz because, absolutely. It's going to be something that helps him in the long run because, you know, those arbitration figures and stuff, they look at the back of the baseball card, baby. And the more saves that he can get, the absolute better. But a terrific pitch to get him there. Sure would have been nice to not have to use him. A lot of comments, and we sure do appreciate. Please leave your questions, all that good stuff. We really, really appreciate the support. Bringing up Troy Taylor going to AAA, I have no issue with it whatsoever. Yeah. Now, I will say this. I still think Troy Taylor has a bright future in baseball. Like, he had excellent stuff in 2024. I don't think he ever has fully recovered from that lat strain, not so much in fastball velocity stuff, in command. I don't think that him having no spring training, I think he needs more work in AAA. I think that's pretty easily the move you make when Trent Thornton comes off of the injured list as you're sending down Troy Taylor. You might even consider it now. But it's kind of tough because I don't know if there's a ton of better options out there. But great point on Colin Snyder. I thought he pitched really well tonight in a not so high leverage situation, but the slider was working, taking advantage of the White Sox lineup. Have we mentioned that the White Sox lineup is bad yet? I think we should.
I don't think we have. Let's mention it one more time.
The White Sox lineup is bad. But Colin Snyder did a nice job. Troy Taylor walking those first 2 guys was just so hard to watch. We saw that with Brazardo in the appearance before.
Yes.
You have that big a lead. You just got to throw strikes and trust your defense. Worth pointing out, there were a couple balls that I think Julio probably would tell you that he should have caught, especially that first one that he misplayed. Seems like such a strong word for a diving catch. But I don't think he got a great read on the ball that ends up scoring the run either. That's not to say that Troy Taylor pitched well. Self-inflicted damage ends up hurting him. But yeah, the Seattle Mariners definitely will be not using Troy Taylor in high leverage anytime soon.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that that's the case. Good to see Josh Rojas again, even though he's masked up by a lot of that, but because he was playing second base. Hey, there you go, Josh Rojas revenge game. Did not go as planned. No, it did not. It's tough to have a revenge game when you play for the White Sox. All right, let's be honest. Let's get to the Julio Grand Slam because I think this game was still in the balance. The Mariners lineup struggled today until that 8th inning. So they've been good at knocking out starters all day. or all year, I should say. But for whatever reason, they had trouble with, and I don't even remember his name. What was it? Davis
Martin.
Davis Martin. Yeah, there it is. If I don't know his name, that tells you that. He's had 2 good starts in a row, and the Mariners have done well against ace-like pitchers. But they struggled today. He just had a lot of ground ball outs, and they couldn't get the ball in the air.
I think they were too aggressive today. I think that they were a little bit too aggressive in going after first pitches, maybe not taking enough. There were some 2-0 counts where maybe they should have let a ball go by. Credit to Davis Martin, though. He's pitched well this year. He has an ERA of like 3.4 or something along those lines. The White Sox have 2 good starting pitchers. The rest of it is absolute hot garbage, but they do have a couple of guys that we'll see. Shane Smith on Wednesday. I'm excited to see that Rule 5 draft pick, but they were too aggressive tonight. They were too aggressive at the plate. But then in the 8th inning, I was super glad to see Julio aggressive, because after the self-inflicted damage that was caused by Cam Boozer, to just annihilate that pitch. And look, it barely gets over the left field fence. With the way the wind was blowing today, that ball was mollywopped, absolutely shellacked. And there were a few balls tonight that the Mariners had die at the warning track that I think now the White Sox had a few.
White Sox did too. Yeah.
White Sox did have a few too as well. But Julio Rodriguez just absolutely ambushes that pitch and turns a game that there was no way the White Sox were scoring 5. As bad as Troy Taylor was pitching tonight, there was no chance in Hades that they were going to score 5 runs tonight. And that takes you, as good as Castillo was, a 4-run swing makes you, to me, the player of the game. When you hit a baseball over the fence and score 4 runs and quintuple your total run footage, you are the player of the game. And it's just so great to see how good Julio has been in the month of May. Like, I think he's hitting 293 with like a 452 slugging percentage. That's what we want. Yeah. That's what we want to see, and can't help but point to how poorly Julio Rodriguez was playing at this point last year. The difference is night and day.
Do you think we're almost 2 months through the season right now? We're almost a third through the season. Do you think it's safe to say this is his best first third of a season that Julio has had in his career?
Sadly, I don't remember what his rookie numbers were at this point.
I remember his first month was bad.
First month was bad because he was getting jobbed by umpires that obviously hated Julio's beautiful blue eyes or something like that, because he just could not get a strike called against him. It's certainly the best of the last 3, though. And his defense is just getting better and better and better. And I don't know how, because you think it's reached a peak. And then even with a misplay again tonight, the range that he shows on those balls in the outfield, on top of the offense, on top of the base running, Julio Rodriguez is a really special baseball player.
Yeah, I'm looking through his rookie year numbers right now. 544 OPS through April, March. But then in May, he did get up to an 866 OPS, and that's where he's starting to go berserk a little bit. So, and that's one thing that I will mention. I think it's almost just assumed that Julio's going to get hot in the middle of the summer. Mm-hmm. I don't want to necessarily pin those hopes on him.
Yeah.
Him carrying the offense like he has for months at a time. Right. But the fact that he's starting to gain some consistency a little bit, where he's becoming a positive offensive player for large stretches of the season without going through those big, gaps where you're not doing anything, striking out a ton. I think it's a big development for him in the long term, especially maybe not as much for this year. Because like I said, people are just kind of assuming that he's going to just have that explosion of a month. I don't know if that's going to happen. I would like to think that he does, but it's definitely something where I'm more encouraged than discouraged if this is kind of what he turns into as a player. I was a little worried, I will say, before that grand slam. He was chopping balls, I think, in the the Padres series as well. A lot of ground balls. Yeah. Nothing super launch angle, quote unquote, high in the air. But he hit the mistake pitch that he needed to kind of make me feel a lot better about that there in the 8th inning, and it came at a big point.
Yeah, no doubt. And by the way, speaking of a big point, it's easy to forget because of the grand slam. Jorge Palano driving in the run in that 3rd inning was absolutely huge too, because, it didn't seem all that big at the time to get a 1-0 lead. Well, that was all of the offense we had for a very long time. And Jorge Palano, it's worth pointing out, just destroys pitching in Chicago. He has
Yeah.
been, Aaron Goldsmith said, Hall of Fame numbers that he's put up in that park, and he's not far off. He's been excellent, and getting that 1-0 lead, it turned out being awfully, awfully big.
Yeah, and even like you said, without the Julio Grand Slam, it's I think Polanco's coming down to earth a little bit. Hasn't been as amazing as he was in the first month of the season. This in May, he's I think closer to the 600, 700 OPS mark. I have to double check those numbers, but if he can just kind of round himself out a little bit, you're never going to be the 1.2 OPS guy that you were in April, but you're not going to be the 500, 600 OPS guy that he has been the last couple of weeks. Round yourself out to the mid 700s, get around to that 800 number. I think you're in great shape, especially as a left-handed only against right-handed pitchers. Because once again, he was pinch hit for against the left-handed pitcher, which is something that I think is worth monitoring. Once again, it doesn't seem like he can't bat against a left-handed pitcher.
Yep, and nice job by Mitch Garver to line that single as well. So that was big to put more pressure on, get those bases loaded, and then Julio does all the damage.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's get into a couple things. Comment your unsung hero of the game. Not a ton of options today, but I have an idea of what mine is going to be. So let those eat, as they say. I have an idea of what mine is. You can go with the Randy Arozarena diving catch. It can be a play of the game as well. So be sure to send those in. But first, Christopher Crawford, I want to talk to you a little bit about Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios.
Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you feeling fuller, longer. I was snacking on some pistachios today. I was just watching the game, getting bored out of my mind for 7 innings, and so thankful that I had some pistachios next to me.
Get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Let's also talk about some FanDuel because the NBA playoffs are in full swing. I'm wearing my Sonics jersey from 2004, Ray Allen, shout out. And every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action.
FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. You know, it'd be an interesting one. Who are you betting on the Seattle Mariners to win tomorrow's game? You don't know who the starting pitcher is going to be. Maybe you look elsewhere. Maybe you're taking a look at whoever the Rockies are playing. Maybe you're looking to get some wins and some strikeouts and some innings. It's just easy to pick on them, and it's just as easy to play with FanDuel.
Yeah, if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's get into our unsung hero of the game. Chris Crawford, you can go ahead first. I have a pretty unique one coming after that.
Maybe we have the same one, but I kind of doubt it. We haven't had the same one yet, although I kind of feel like sometimes you're just picking someone different because you don't like to agree with me. And that's fine. Never know. That's fine. My unsung hero tonight is Rowdy Tellez. And the reason Rowdy Tellez is my unsung hero is because of what he did defensively today. He made some excellent plays at first base, not just on a couple of diving plays. Maybe it was just a one diving play, but he had another play where he showed off his beautiful beefy boy range. It was his job of picking some of those balls in the infield tonight as well. And the one thing that Rowdy Tellez does exceptionally well, he picks the baseball off the ground so well on those throws. He saved a couple of errors tonight. So I'm going with Rowdy Tellez. It's a little easier. It would have been a little easier call in a 1-0 game because he's saving those, and 5-1. It's a little bit different. But Rowdy Tellez did a really nice job defensively tonight. So he's my underrated, unsung hero for tonight.
Yeah, mine's going to be a little bit interesting. It's not a player. It's not a coach. I've never myself felt the pitch comm in my hand. So I don't know if it's a button or something, but whatever it is that sends the fastball signal, that is my unsung hero of the game, because that has to be overworked at this point when you're playing against the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah.
Luis Castillo was throwing 4-seamers, 2-seamers, just straight at him every single time. They couldn't catch up to it. I love how much movement was on it. But yeah, the pitch comm giving us the fastball signal is my unsung hero of the game. Guys, be sure to if you missed any part of our postcast here, you can catch the beginning of it on our YouTube channel right here. You just can fast forward back to the beginning or whichever point that you missed. But you can also catch it on audio platforms as well. Wherever you get your podcast, maybe you're driving around, you can't watch us, you got to watch the road. You can still pop us on the podcast machine, however you listen. It's a great way to kind of get your Mariners post-game show from myself, Anderson Hurst, and Christopher Crawford. You can catch our work. I contribute on Sports Radio KJR in Seattle. Chris Crawford is the host of My OY. He also appears on Sports Radio KJR every Monday with the Molly Wop Monday crew. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in with us today. Maybe we won't see you tomorrow. We'll see what ends up happening with a possible rain delay or rain postponement of the game. But at this point in time, we'll plan with being with you guys right after the game tomorrow. I would give you the starter tomorrow, but we don't know it. So
nope.
I guess we'll figure that out a little bit later. But Mariners win again, 4th in a row, 5 of the last 6. Get the job done. Let's go win the series tomorrow against the White Sox. Have a good one, everyone.
Peace.